I got into prehistoric Venuses, which are figurines of very large ladies, and and it was about understanding how and why they were made, and getting to grips with this actual part of the story, because again, it's part of the human story. There's over 200. There's over 200 to 300 effigies of female goddess forms. Don't get me wrong, there's male goddess forms as well, god forms that were created. No, and when we talk about what they were created out of, what you're quite often seeing them made out of is either stone themselves, which is really, really, really hard, or ivory from mammoth and bone, that sort of thing. So, and you'd say, well, can you do that in today's world? Well, you can, because I found that I can actually buy ivory from places in Russia, from people who are digging it out of the ice. So I've literally on my wrist there, this is mammoth ivory.
Well, I want to see the mammoth ivory.
Okay, yeah. That's a bracelet.
Awesome.
And one of the things I will just do, since I've got it here and we're talking about it, I'll go and get the Venus.
I'd love to see it, please.
This is Venus Willendorf, and she was found in 2009, and she's 30,000 years old.
What?
And I learned a hell of a lot about her. This is the one that I've just finished recreating, but on the journey, when I went to meet her in Vienna, and that was a breathtaking experience, even emotional actually. And then I went on I drove another further 160 miles into the Czech Republic, into something called the Moravian Mountains. I found a cave which I slept in, and then began searching for this stone. It's called oolitic limestone. I found a stone and managed to make her with flint tools. I couldn't even get close to the real thing, right?
Do you think that's a time thing or a technique thing, or what do you think?
What do I think? See, after making her, one of the things I realised, because I've made 4 or 5 of her now, right? And each time I've got a little bit closer. And the reason I had to keep going is because I couldn't get it as good as the original. He had spent, I have no idea about the time scale, but he spent a lot of time studying the form of that lady and creating the curves that were necessary to get her so voluptuous. And you know what's even more interesting about it is the first few times when I looked at her, I mistakenly thought that it was just a big fat lady, but didn't really see it. You see it plump, but what you don't see is the depth and the smooth articulate and the flow of everything. This thing actually flows because it's got so much form and there's texture to it. It just blew me away, and just what a journey to learn that.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible. And
do you think that I've much like you, I've traveled a lot around the world over my 45 years of being here, and I've traveled a lot in India, to a lot of places, the back of beyond in India, where you can find forts and temples and even channels, water channels through mountains that date back 800, 900, 1,000, 1,500 years ago, and they're still perfectly formed, perfectly functioning today. Do you think that we've lost a lot of know-how over the years, or just become really impatient to get stuff done in unrealistic quick timeframes?
Yeah, I think the element of finance and the requirement of money has actually, it's almost been a robbery of what we're directly potentially capable of achieving. And even the ownership of land itself, it should be the land, not my land, if you understand. Because once it's the land and you're not all trying to take from everywhere, because we're all trapped in this financial chain of rotation, so it doesn't disappear. It stops us. It has a huge persuasion of taking away what we're potentially capable of, you know. And if we were able to work with what we're capable of instead of working with the limitations that we now currently find ourselves under, then I think we'd see a difference in mankind's behavior again.
Because we know we're infinitely capable of far more than what we're actually doing today. If you just go back to Aztecs or Mayans or even ancient Egypt, and I know we're not going back to prehistoric at that point in time, but without all of today's shiny shit, those people achieved things that are mind-boggling, and so obviously we're missing something, because it would take huge amounts of manpower and cash to go and make a Mayan temple, for instance. And yet those people did it somehow thousands of years ago. It kind of feels like we're missing something.
Let me tell you something that I think I need to bring you home from Austria first, right?
Go. Bring me home from Austria.
We need to come, leave Willendorf, Venus Willendorf, and we head home. And on the way home, I decided that I was going to go hunting, not for animals, but for caves. And I found a combination of different caves and had to do quite a bit of driving between them. And again, I slept in them. And I'd also done some of this in England as well. I did a West Country tour of different archaeological sites. And I just keep bumping into the same thing. I keep bumping into the personality of a place and feeling it. And it's different, and it differs from place to place. Some caves felt more welcoming than others, if you know what I mean. And some of them were noisy inside, but I'm not talking about a noise which is a noise that you can physically hear. It's a sensory noise. And some of them are much more quiet. And that, again, was something I wasn't aware that I was going to experience. And it's not something that's actually driving me away. It actually pulls you harder to keep going and to keep meeting the land.